Batch of Coffnagel, and I'm going to be making biscuits. So the biscuit first came around by a Roman chef who had made a paste out of wheat flour that was boiled and then spread out onto a plate, then was left to dry and then cut into different shapes. So today I'm making a American biscuit, which is a flaky biscuit which normally has yeast, or it will have buttermilk as the substitute of yeast. So to begin, you're going to need to preheat your oven to 375 degrees. That way, later on, you're just able to put it in. Okay, so first you need to cut up your thyme and rosemary, which will be then added to your buttermilk. So you add your thyme and rosemary into your buttermilk, and then you'll stir it around with a fork normally, or you can just let it sit, which will be perfectly fine. So after that's stirred up, you then need to mix together all your dry ingredients, which will be flour, baking powder, salt, and sugar, into a big mixing bowl. First, you want to put in your flour, then your salt, your baking powder, and then your sugar. And then set all the bowls aside. So then you want to get a whisk and mix it all together. That way it can incorporate easier. Okay, so that's mixed up. So then you have to make sure you have your 6-9 cut up into about bite-sized pieces, and then dump it into your bowl. And make sure it's cold. That way it doesn't melt while you're blending it in. Then you need to take a pastry blender and cut it up. That way it's about the size of a pea or a peanut. Now, if you were making a British biscuit or England biscuit, you wouldn't use the butter. You would just use the flour and the baking powder with the sugar, which would then just cause it to be a more crispier cookie while you're baking. But adding the butter into it will then allow it to become flakier. About the size of a pea, which each butter chunk should be about that size, or a little bit smaller if not. You're going to want to take out your pastry blender, and then get your buttermilk and rosemary and thyme. Pour it in here. Make sure you get all the herbs into it. And then you want to get pepper, and then your sharp cheddar cheese. Then you only want to mix this until it's just combined. So until it looks pretty lumpy, which is how it should. Normally helps with getting everything combined completely, which allows it easier to get rolled out and then cut out with either a biscuit cutter or what we're going to be using, a cup. So now that it's pretty much mixed together, we're going to sprinkle flour out onto the table. So sprinkle flour out. And you're going to want to flour your hands. That way it doesn't stick to you as well. And then form it together with your hands. That way you can get everything out of the bowl. So you'll want to get every dry ingredient out of here. So we'll just lay it up there on the table. And then just get all the ingredients. Make sure it's all together. Okay, so now you have to make sure it's in like a ball form. And then you can grab your rolling pin. And you're going to want to flour your rolling pin. That way it doesn't stick really to your dough for your biscuits. So then you roll it out lightly. That way it's about a 1/2 inch thick. Or if you want, you can make it a little thicker. You just want to make sure it's thick enough to make your biscuits. That way they're not like super thin or super thick. And if need be, you can reflour your rolling pin if there's not enough one to begin with. So you just continue to roll it out until it's about half an inch thick or an inch thick, which it looks about right now. So then you're going to want to take either a biscuit cutter or a cup and then flour the rim of it. That way it's nice and floured. That way it doesn't stick too much. So make sure there's no like excess flour on it. And then you just go down, press down, and take it out. Depending on your cup size, it could be smaller or bigger, which depends on how many you will actually get out of a biscuit batch. So mine, I'll probably get like 8 out, so I should be good. Okay, so now that I have 6, I'm going to have to take these ones out of where they're at. That way I'm able to reball the dough back up and then roll it out so I can get the rest out. So you just grab it, ball it back up like before, later, or use it for this time, but I'm just going to wait until later and use it. So now with a clean surface, you want to get a cookie sheet that has been lined with parchment paper. And then you just place your cutout biscuits evenly apart. So now you're just going to take them to your preheated oven that was set to 75 degrees. 375. And then you're going to want to put them on the middle rack of your oven. And then just close up your oven and set a timer for about 15 to 18 minutes. So you're going to start off with 15 minutes just to be safe. So now after 18 to 20 minutes, you have perfectly good biscuits.